Hello, and welcome to the Joyful Living Podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Dixon. If you're watching us today on YouTube, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and then share the channel with someone so that more people get exposed to the Joyful Living Podcast. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, be sure to subscribe to the station and then become a monthly supporter so that we can continue to bring you this podcast every month. So you see, I'm by myself again this week. And if you saw last week's podcast, you know why. But if you didn't listen or watch it last week, you don't know why. So I need you to go back and listen to last week's podcast. No, seriously, during this season of COVID-19, we won't be doing any interviews, but we still will be bringing you the podcast each and every week. So this week, since I'm by myself again, we're going to talk about joy through the ages. Because guys, in 2020, in just a few months, little old me is going to turn 50 years old. So I'm going to talk about some of the pros and some of the cons of being a younger woman versus being a almost 50-year-old woman. So one of the major, this is so important. Listen up closely, guys. For all you 25-year-olds who still suffer with acne, guess what? As we get older, we have less incidences of acne. Of course, there's still an occasional bump here or there, but that's usually just because I've been wearing makeup for a lot or, been doing a lot of speaking engagements. But for the most part, or I've been eating cheese. So, I love cheese, but cheese doesn't love me. So the only time I have breakouts now is if I've been indulging in cheese. Not all dairy, just cheese for some odd reason. But we have less acne as we get older. So, of course, ladies, we want to look good, but having flawless skin comes naturally as you get older. A bonus point for that is if you have oily skin. When you're a teenager or in your 20s, people generally hate having oily skin. But guess what? Oily skin keeps you from aging. I recently showed someone a picture of me in my 12th grade year of high school, and they commented back that I look younger today than I did when I was 18 years old. It's like, how is it possible to be going in reverse? That was 30 years ago. But I look younger today than I did then. But that's partly because of my naturally oily skin. And so I don't have acne breakouts anymore. And the oiliness that I had as a teenager isn't quite as bad now. I still get oily, but not as bad. So, as a teenager and a person in their 20s, you literally have what's called growing pains, where your joints will ache physically because they are growing. Well, guess what? When you get older, well, we've stopped growing. We don't have growing pains anymore. So that's one of the major benefits, because if you remember what growing pains felt like, especially in your teens, around the ages of 15, between the ages of 15 and 19, you would really have a lot of pain in your joints. But it was because your joints were actually, or your femur and your tibular were actually getting longer, and it hurt to grow. Well, we've stopped growing. We don't hurt like that anymore. I'll talk about the other hurt when we get to the cons. But as women, one of the major benefits of getting older is our cycle usually gets lighter. And then as we get much older, we don't have one at all. So I was one of those particular women who was, I'm going to say, blessed to go through menopause early. I started menopause when I was 46 years old, and it typically doesn't start until around 52 or so. And when I went to the doctor's office, I was giggling and laughing. I'm like, I think I'm going into menopause, or I thought I was in perimenopause, which is the very beginning of it. So he said, we can run a hormone test, do some blood work, run a hormone test, and see. He's like, but I doubt it. You're awfully young to even be experiencing anything. It's like, I think I'm having hot flashes. And he was like, no, you're too young for that. Well, turns out I wasn't in perimenopause. I was in full-blown menopause. I wasn't ready for that, y'all. I was all lighthearted about it when I thought I was in the beginning stages of it. But when he said it was full blown, now it wasn't because I couldn't have any children. I knew at an early age that I would never birth a child. But someone telling me that I couldn't birth one now, y'all, it was so pitiful. I would be sitting at my desk crying and stuff. But that was a few years ago. And actually, the benefit of being in menopause is you don't have a cycle anymore. You do still have some of the symptoms that you're about to have, like breast tenderness or maybe a little bit of bloating. But even that, for me, is not as bad as when I was actually having a cycle. So I count that as a bonus. That's a major bonus. Not everyone feels that way, but it's definitely a bonus for me. But one of the major pros to getting older is we have a change in our mindset or our attitude if we pursue that through reading, through different avenues like attending workshops and the people that we hang around with. Because this is the thing, age and maturity don't necessarily go together. So you might be actually getting older, but you're not maturing. So if you put the work in around your mindset and around your attitude, then in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, you'll realize that every decade gets better and better and better, as opposed to, feeling stuck or being the same person at 50 that you were at 25. Growth should be a natural progression, but it's not just because you're getting older. That takes work. It takes commitment, and it takes a desire to want to be better than you are currently. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with you today as you are, but growth is a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful thing. So when we put the work in to work on our mindset and our attitudes, because I don't know about you, when I was 25 years old, I had an attitude with the world. But as a 50-year-old or almost 50-year-old, there have been so many things that have shifted around my mindset and around my attitude about life and myself, that every decade feels better because I have more confidence. I have more confidence in me. And as you can see today, I didn't wear any makeup. And that was intentional because as I was preparing for the podcast, I was like, well, let me put a little bit of makeup on. And then I said, no, I'm not going to do that because I want you to see who I really am. And I'm confident enough to show you who I am. What I look like physically is not so important to me as a 50-year-old as it was as a 25-year-old. As a 25-year-old, I cared a little bit about what people thought. I've never been one of those people who was really consumed with others' thoughts. But let's be honest, guys. All of us care what some people think to some extent or another. But the beauty is, as you get older, you care less. So I guess I was around 39, and I called my dad one day, and I was like, Dad, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm like, I don't care about stuff. And I was like, I'll say anything to anybody. And he was like, no, baby, it's not that you don't care. It's just you don't care what they think anymore. So you are free to be you. So with that getting older, you have a different level of confidence and you have a different level of freedom where you're not so consumed with what other people think. So sometimes I do take that a little bit too far, though, especially in the wintertime, because I would much rather be warm than to look pretty. So if you see me in the grocery store, I might not look the best. And I can guarantee you, on my worst days, I'll hear somebody say from behind, Kimberly Dixon, is that you? And I'll laugh. And I'm like, yes, it is me. I don't look the same as you see me at speaking engagements and workshops as I do standing in line at the grocery store. You might see anything. And I'm always clean, but I might not be looking the best because I'm not consumed by what other people think of me. Like, I am comfortable. I'm just running to the grocery store from my house. I'm not really concerned about whether I see someone or not. And that's just me personally. So when you get older, you have this peace and this comfort in your own skin. I know what it feels like to be uncomfortable in your own skin. But today I can say that I'm truly comfortable in my skin. That's a beautiful feeling. And it brings about a lot of joy. So when I turned 30, through my 30s, I thought from a career perspective, this is the best decade of my life. But then when I got in my mid 40s, I thought the 40s were going to be the great. But as I get older, I'm realizing that every decade is better than the last because you are finally being you. You are free to be you. Now, there are a couple of cons to getting older. So some women, men too, they don't like gray hair. Me personally, I like it. I always have. But gray hair is not so much about age, because you'll see some people who have grayed very early in life, some perhaps as early as their 20s, others in their 30s, some in their 40s. Well, I like gray hair and I was looking forward to getting some. So this is a con for me. I can count the number of gray hair I have on one hand. It's one right here and I get one over here, but most of the time when I get my hair cut, it gets cut off. The only other one I have is in my eyebrow. So I don't really have any gray hair. So that's not really contingent upon age. It can be, you know, I know people who have a lot of gray in their 30s, but here I am on 49. At 49, I'm about to turn 50 in a couple of months, and I have 3. I'm looking forward to it coming in. I want to be like those sophisticated women in their 50s who have that silver, that silver in the front. Because I know it's going to be silver, because this Lone Ranger here, it's silver. You can't even see it on the thing, I don't think. But I want my silver hair. My grandfather used to have the most beautiful, luxurious silver hair. Now, he was dyeing his hair. When he was in his 70s still, he would dye it black. But when it wasn't dyed, it was this beautiful silver color. So I don't know at what point that's going to happen for me. Maybe, in a year or two. Maybe by the time I'm 60, I wish I had less silver hair. But right now, I would like a few. I just would. Like, I think women in their 50s who are confident and strong and doing their thing with some silver hair, that chick is bad and you can't do nothing with her. But one of the legitimate cons of being this age is the dreaded chin hair. Yep. As the hormone levels change, as estrogen decreases, the testosterone that everybody has, all males and all females have estrogen and testosterone. But when the estrogen stops, when you go through menopause, you naturally get more hair. So, I've got one hair that I get under my chin, and most of my friends my age, they all do too. But for me, even bigger than that, okay, so I've always had hair on my face. Everybody does. But when I was younger, my brother used to pick at me and was like, your beard is growing in. As a kid, I'm like, I don't have a beard. Really upset me. But, as I got older, it didn't bother me as much. But now that I am in menopause, I find that I get more hair on the side of my face. So it's so funny whenever I'm at the barbershop. The first time I was there, I looked at him and I was like, will you hit that with the clippers a little bit? He was like, I saw it, but I didn't want to say nothing. I was like, well, man, say something. So every now and again when I go in, I'm like, do my beard need to be knocked down today? Everybody in the barbershop falls out laughing because, as I always say, we have to be able to laugh at ourselves. So I asked him, I was like, do my beard need to be knocked down? I'm like, don't let me be walking around look with my hair all tight, and then I got more facial hair on my face. I got more hair on my face than I've got on my head. So that is one of the cons. you have more body hair, you'll get hair on your chin. And if you're like me, that person who always had a lot of facial hair, you might get a beard. So when you see those women who, got hair on their face, don't look at the hair. Just, continue to talk to them. They are older. They're going through menopause. And the older we get, the more it is. So I remember one time I was traveling with a friend of mine. This has been a few years ago. And I wasn't getting any facial hair at that point. And she got a razor out of a bag, and I'm like, are you going? I was thinking to myself, we're in the mountains. We're not going to a pool or anywhere. What are you doing with a razor? And when I looked up and saw that woman standing over in front of the mirror, running it across her face, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to think. But as I've gotten a little bit older, I realize it just comes along with it's part of the process. So, go into it with a sense of humor, because there are going to be some changes that you weren't really expecting. You weren't ready for it. I'm like, I ain't ready. But then there are other things about it getting older just beautiful and enjoyable. So another one of the cons is, I mentioned earlier, you don't have the growing pains anymore. But as you get older, sometimes we just have random aches. So one of the ladies that I work out with, she's a few years younger than me. She's in her mid-40s. And on Saturday mornings when we show up, we always have a discussion about what's hurting. What's hurting today. So you can go to bed tonight, and tomorrow you get up and your ankle is hurting, or your shoulder is hurting, or your wrist is hurting for no apparent reason. You're like, I didn't hurt myself. What's going on? And then magically, it's gone. The pain that you felt this morning, you don't feel anymore. So we always, we joke about it. It's like, what's this phantom pain I'm having today? But then, there are some pains that come along that we're getting older that may be arthritis related, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about random stuff just hurting for no reason. And then it goes back to normal. And you're like, okay, what was going on for the last 3 days? Why I couldn't why I couldn't put any pressure on my foot? Body is just going through some changes. So those are just some of the cons and some of the pros for, getting older. And as you can see, in my opinion, there's so many more pros to getting older and just enjoying this ride. Life it is fleeting. It's like the word teaches us, it's like a vapor. And as we are in this COVID-19 season, we need to learn to be grateful for everything. Not just, our material possessions, but the people in our lives. We need to be grateful for waking up and seeing another day. I've had many friends that have celebrated birthdays over the course of this past spring and weren't able to celebrate in the way that they were accustomed to celebrating their birthday. But just count it a blessing and count it joy that you are still here to have another birthday. So I am enthusiastically awaiting my 50th birthday. We've already saved a date for the birthday party. And in case something is crazy is still going on in November, doesn't even matter. I'll push my birthday party back to 2021 if I have to, but I am having a 50th birthday party because I'm excited about this. This journey has been an interesting roller coaster ride, but it's been great. And here's the one thing, an absolute thing that I want everybody to realize. We are going to make some mistakes in our life. We are going to have some things that when you look back on it, but that maybe you thought, I wish it hadn't happened that way. But if you take it as an opportunity to learn when you get my age, you won't have any regrets about your life. I don't have any regrets about my life, anything that I did or anything that happened to me, because I look at it as an experience to learn. And that's exactly what I did. And because I chose to learn from those experiences, I am living a great life now because it taught me things. And I realized that had I not gone through those things, had I not done the things that I did, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. So I don't have any regrets about my life. I know there are lots of people who do, but me personally, I don't have any regrets. I don't waste my time looking back over my shoulder thinking what I woulda, shoulda, coulda did. I learned from whatever the experience was, and I move forward. So I'm looking forward to going into my 50s and just riding this thing till the wheels fall off of it. Because I don't know about you, but I plan on living till I'm in my early 100s, a healthy, happy person. Because my family, we have longevity when we take care of ourselves. So guys, that's just been a few quick pros and cons of 25 versus 50. So young ladies, young men, enjoy your life, learn from your life, so that every decade it gets better and better. Thank you for watching the Joyful Living Podcast. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like the video and hit the subscribe button. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, be sure to become a monthly supporter so that we can continue to bring you great interviews and great stories going forward. Thank you again for watching. I'm your host, Kimberly Dixon. Bye-bye.